How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the House of Horror podcast. We've got a really long episode for you guys today, so I'm going to keep this intro short and sweet. My guest today is Midnight Miles, who's been on the Two Nerds podcast a few times, but we never really got a proper introduction to him. So today we're really going to take a dive into how he got interested in horror films, what it was like going to school for special effects, and some of the films that he's gotten the chance to work on. Besides that, we also talk about growing up in Ashtabula and the various bands we've been in over the years, and we also get into what we think about the new Blink-182 albums. All of that and more are coming at you in just a second, and I really hope that you enjoy our conversation. If you guys are new to the show, make sure you guys subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so you know when I post new videos, and if you were to give this video a thumbs up, it would be greatly appreciated. If at some point down the line you happen to be listening to this interview on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, make sure that you leave me a rating and review. Without further ado, enjoy my interview with my friend Midnight Miles. So I saw recently, I guess not too recent, it's been a couple weeks now, but you actually just got back from the Mothman Festival. You were there a few weeks ago.
From the Mothman Festival.
How was that?
It was really cool. I didn't expect it to be so all-encompassing, I guess. It's like they really did take over the entire city. It was probably one of the most interesting groups of people that I've ever seen, because there really were people from all walks of life. So it's kind of cool to see like that whole community and like how it reaches out to like people from all over the place, you know, and really captures people's imagination, I guess.
Was that the first time you've ever been to that?
First time I've ever been there. I wanted to go for a few years, but I wanted to go as part of like I was going to do like I don't know, not like oddities, but like kind of like a weird roadside attractions trip.
Yeah.
A couple times, but it just didn't pan out. I was going to go down like into West Virginia, cut back into Pennsylvania, and come back up because there's a lot of really weird little off-the-road places in West Virginia from what I've seen.
Yeah. I haven't seen we went to West Virginia, Emily had a college visit there a while ago, and the town, it was a huge town, but it was Ashtabula. There was like nothing there, but it was just like very big. And, like, the only thing I could find, there was, like, one cool little shop that had a bunch of, like, horror artwork there. Mm. Like, there were paintings of, like, the Bride of Frankenstein, and, like, there was, like, a Jason and Freddy Krueger one and stuff like that. But, yeah, I mean, I guess West Virginia is the place to go for spooky stuff, I guess.
I guess. There's that website, Camera Obscura, I think is what it is. And if you go in there, they have, like, a catalog of every single state in America.
It's like Atlas Obscura.
Or Atlas Obscura. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said my brain. I've only had 4 cups of coffee today, so I'm still
only 4?
About 2 shy of like where my brain starts functioning. But yes, I'm sorry. You are correct. He is correct. Listen to the host of the show. I don't know anything clearly. But yes, Atlas Obscura. That website's great, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I went, because for a while, and I guess this kind of ties into the Mothman thing, but for a while last year, I was working the night shift at the news station, and there wasn't shit to do. I mean, there were no, like, live shows or anything. You kind of just, like, make sure the place doesn't explode. So I would go on Atlas Obscura, because I was like, okay, well, it'd be cool someday maybe to go to every state, but like I don't want to go and do like the main touristy stuff. I want to go and see like the stuff that's like weird. So I made like a little list of like all the stuff that was in like every state. But yeah, when we went to the Mothman Festival, it was right after I got off of a overnight shift. So I worked from like 11 to 7, drove to West Virginia, was out in the hot sun all day, and then came back that night. So I had a lot of fun, but it was like just sort of like a miserable experience.
I'm getting a headache thinking about that experience.
Yeah.
So usually in big festivals, I'm not a huge big crowd person, at least when I've gotten older. Like, I mean, like where I'm just around thousands of people, and this sounds horrible, but without having a beer or two, because it kind of takes that little edge off.
Yeah.
So it was like one of the hottest days they'd had in a while down there when I went down. It was like 91 or something.
Yeah.
And so it was good. I brought a giant waters, and I was like, man, I kind of want to get a beer to take the edge off. And I went in this place that I thought was a bar, and it was like a private gambling establishment.
All right.
And this little old lady, like it was like he had to be buzzed to enter. They buzzed us into the first door. I was like, what the hell's going on? And this little old lady comes out from the darkness. Like there was the door open behind, and there was pitch black. And this little old woman, probably like 4'11", comes out looking like she probably has seen the Mothman and was like, gambling on there in here. And then I was just like, I mean, I see it says 21 and over. I was like, oh, I'll gamble, but can I have a beer? And she goes, and shuts the door behind her and fades into the black.
Oh, really?
And then we just had to turn around and leave. And like, so I can't remember the name of that place, but fuck that place. You're probably doing way illegal shit in there.
Oh, yeah.
Don't park yourself literally so close to the like downtown and the Mothman things because, you know, I just wanted some air conditioning and like maybe one beer. I don't know, whatever. Anyways,
did you get any merch when you were down there? Did you get anything cool?
I just got like some cozies because I love cozies. I just have way too many of them for no reason. But I got one that says it's actually in the car. I believe in Mothman or something like that, and it's just got a big moth on it. It's like neon green. You can see it a mile away. But they had so many shirts and so many things. I wanted to get some of the books, but because there were a couple like the local authors down there that have written like one guy had like 12 novels, not even just on Mothman, but like just stuff in West Virginia. And like I was like, if I go back again, I really want to take the time and like look at this stuff, but I have so much to read and do right now. I was like, I'm not gonna spend money. I was like, I probably will. By the time next year comes around, I'll be like, oh, now I can maybe take the time to actually read some of this guys or the other authors' stuff, you know. But some pretty cool stuff. Lots of good art and stuff down there, you know.
Yeah, last year I almost got this. I kind of regret sometimes I regret I didn't get this, but it was essentially James Hetfield's body, but the Mothman's head on it, and it said Mothman in like the Metallica font. But yeah, it was a little expensive, so I passed on it. But
I didn't see it was
interesting.
Good.
Yeah,
but there was some really good. I think it's just when you have enough stuff. Like I looked, I'm like, where am I gonna put this? Or like some of the art prints, I'm like, I have like a stack of stuff at my house that like I can't even put up because I don't have anywhere to put up.
Yeah.
Or I'll just put it in a corner in a basement. I'm like, why even bother? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't put up. As you can see, I've barely decorated in this room so far.
This room's sick, though. I didn't expect this kind of upstairs. I'm like, wow.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've got all the movies up, but again, I have like tons of like posters and like wall art and stuff, and like I don't know what the hell to do with it because the ceiling's not even straight.
Yeah, I know.
So it's either I put all the posters up and they're all crooked, or I put it down on there and risk a cat pissing on it or something. So I don't know what to do.
You could do across the thing, but yeah, you'd have to make sure they're like real anchored, so someone's not just walking by, just comes down. I mean, it wouldn't hurt, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I guess before we dive too deep into your horror background, I was introduced to you through music, and I guess we've never really talked about this on the show, how we first kind of got to know each other. I was always aware of your existence because I was in band with your sister. Mm-hmm. But you were a bit older than me, so I don't think in high school I had any interaction with you at all.
You know, by the time I got to probably like 11th grade. Okay, so I was in all three high schools. This is probably, the viewers are already tuning out. They're like, holy shit, here comes the worst story of all time. But each year we had a different I mean, not each year, but you know, I did 9th grade was a different building. 10th and 11th was a different building. And then you got the senior year where everyone was combined.
Because it was they had just built it. It was a brand
new school. So, like, a lot of the younger kids that people hung out with, I say younger now, but we're all adults now, way beyond that now. But I didn't meet a lot of them. You know, I just didn't.
Right.
I just didn't have the interaction with them, you know. Like, I knew people that were older or were in my grade, like even kids, like I didn't really know a lot of kids from all the surrounding, like Geneva, Jefferson, all that and stuff like that, unless I worked with them, because I worked in high school too, so like, you know, I was working, going to school, and then had a girlfriend at the time, and then my basic friends, like that pretty much, I didn't meet a lot of the younger, anyone even younger than, even a lot of people in my sister's grade I didn't know, you know?
Yeah.
But I knew you became friends with Jared. I don't know when.
I don't know when that happened. It first started because I was also in band with Izzy. So that's kind of how I got introduced to the whole music thing. And so, like, I was at Homewrecker's first show by accident at the Cove.
The Cove, yeah, and they made an Evil Dead flyer.
Poster. Yeah, it's just Ash's face.
Yeah.
So I ended up there somehow, and then I stayed for a little bit, and I was like, okay, I don't really know. That was my first show ever, so I was like, I don't really know what's going on.
You probably would have been...
I was in 10th grade.
Were you that? Okay, I would say at least probably 16 then, yeah, maybe?
Yeah, I still wasn't driving, so I was 15, about to turn 16, I think. I was actually on Homewrecker's first EP. Were you on that too? When they had everyone go like, well, isn't it my lucky day?
I wasn't, no,
Yeah,
I
weren't
wasn't,
there.
I don't think I was there for that. I think I was working or something, I don't know.
Yeah, but I remember Homewrecker's second show, and this is where the first time I met you. Homewrecker's second show was at the beach, and American Zero had played that show.
So yeah, I helped set up. Me and Matt Barham co-booked that show. I got the band set up. He got all the okays for the beach, which still
didn't work.
I don't even know how it was even. I don't even know how that happened because we started it as a joke. I was like, it'd be really funny. Because I knew a couple bands that wanted to play SGB and stuff. Like, it'd be really funny if we just had a show at the skate park and the beach, not thinking it would ever
Happen.
Just bullshitting. And Barham's like, oh, that's a great idea. I'm gonna, I know someone. I'm gonna go talk to da da da. And I was like, all right, I'll put some bands together if you,
handle that.
And then about a week and a half later, he's like, yeah, I got the okay for this day and like kind of during the day and stuff like that. And I was just like, okay,
yeah.
Well, he was really, that was, those few shows we played with Homewrecker and the band I was in, American Zero, horrible band name, by the way.
You had a couple bangers, though.
Bangers.
What was that? It was like, Work It Out!
Oh, my God. That song was great. The guitar was great. The recordings, we recorded a demo, and it was, sorry to Dan Lacey, I love you. I think you were also drunk when you recorded this, which doesn't, anyways. With broken mics, and I swear to God, the mixes are different on every single one. I think I was getting over a sinus infection. It just was God, those recordings were one of the worst things ever. I was literally a complete nightmare. But the songs were fun live, we got into them live and stuff like that. But
yeah.
That was the second time we had that band. That band there was two different versions of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was my band when I was 14 to 15, and we broke up right before I turned 16. That was why we actually got that band back together. We got that band back together as a joke. The whole summer was a lot of things where I was like, what if we just did this? And people were like, let's do it. And I'm like, oh. And so we played with Homewrecker like 4 shows that summer. There was that place that had the arcade on Geneva on the Lake, and in the back of it they had a giant auditorium.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I forget what it's called.
Called that because we played there with them twice. One time they set up a show, another time I set up a show, and then we played the beach, and then one other time. Anyways, I got sidetracked. But that summer really kickstarted Ashton Buell starting to have shows.
Oh yeah, because that was before there was a dedicated venue for that, and that's when a lot of bands started getting started. And I think the next junior year, because that was the summer, I must have been 16 if I went to the beach show. So my junior year was when I started my band, Knuckles Up, and that's when
yeah. I was gone for that, but I saw you guys once or twice.
Yeah, and that's when we started playing shows more at the Eagles Pavilion back in behind where West End would ultimately end up being. But yeah.
Ryan Zachar's house. I came back for Come back for a couple of those house shows, just because they were close to the holidays. Because I was like living away for a year, and so like I came back for a couple. So I remember Ryan Zachar's had started having a lot of people, and then like you said, the Eagles. There were a lot. There were like all of a sudden like 50 to 100 people like every time.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like those house shows, those are really where I met like everyone basically. Like Bobby Avalos was there.
Right.
I remember Ricky used to go to those shows, and his band would play the set, and then the rest of the time he would go and sit up like on one of the steps and just be miserable the entire time and not talk to a soul.
Classic Ricky. Classic. Shout out to Ricky Pizer.
Yeah. Rick the Dick, as he's known on these shows. Ricky Not Too Good Pizer. Yeah, and then after American Zero, you were in Middle State.
This was after I was gone for a handful of years. Yeah, we came back, and another thing was just like meeting some new dudes, and then I finally got to play music with Jared, and it just kind of like worked out. But that was like the last year before the music started to go on the downswing. You know, everything has like every music scene has like a good like 5 years, and then people become assholes or outgrow it or move or whatever.
Yeah, and that's also when I was in my last band, The Heel, and then like after, like once that sort of ended, I sort of got out of the scene for a little bit. I mean, I was moving around and stuff too.
Right.
But yeah, it's sort of, the Beulah scene isn't what it was, and I mean those like 5 to like 7 years or so was all it was. So
that's what I mean, Beulah always had, when I was like really young, the Cove used to be the place, and they would let anyone in. I mean, you had to pay, but like I remember going to see local bands at the Cove because people's parents or whatever gave us like rides when I was like pretty young, you know what I mean? Probably from like 14 or 15 to like 17 or 18. Then like right around the Homewrecker show was one day I went to a show there, I think like right after that, and that's when I first met Bobby Avalos and Nick Myers. All the Cognac kids had a couple bands at this one show.
Yeah.
But then I just didn't like the vibe, and I was getting older, and I was like, I'm just never going back. Never went back to the Cove. All these years later.
Are you still haven't been back?
I haven't been to the Cove since I was like 18 or 19, and I'm almost about to be 31, so that's how many years it's been. It wasn't for me. Never went to any of those big Mushroom Head shows and stuff after,
Yeah, I played a couple of those. We played.
It was a good time.
We played one of those at the Fantasy right down the road as well, and that was like one of their last shows before they shut down for a while. And then didn't they burn down?
Fantasy?
I thought they had like a fire or something.
They might have had a fire. They just got rebought by a couple people that own the Foundry and some other things, but they had been trying to sell that property for a while.
Oh, really?
Who owned it, so they've kind of like revamped it.
Yeah.
But that venue is hot as hell. Now they're doing a lot of shows there, and like the air circulator, you're just eating everyone's air around you. You feel like garbage when you leave that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But so I've been meaning to ask you about this because you're the only one I know that really listens to the two of these bands. I don't know so much anymore. I know for sure one of them. But and you actually have both of them tattooed on your leg, I believe. It was sort of I don't know how to put this. Basically, two bands that were super formative in both of our lives when we were teenagers. Blink and Alkaline Trio kind of came together a few years back. Matt is now in the band. They put out 2 records, and I never had the chance to talk to you about this. What do you think about these? What do you think about these records?
I like Parts of California. It has some good songs on it. I think both of them are extremely overproduced.
Oh,
the guy who produces them is
Feldman.
actually a singer, and songwriter, Goldfinger, and he's gone on to produce fairly huge bands for about the past 15 years.
Yeah.
I mean, or a little bit longer than that.
Because I mean, he did the first like 5 or 6 used albums.
I don't think he did the very first used record. I think he did the second one.
Did he?
I think that's why I like the first.
Oh,
because it has a more raw sound. But I think he did every album they did after that. Because he really took a liking to them. I think they became close, and then he did later Atreyu albums when they started to get bigger, and then he really took under his wing. I know Black Veil Brides.
Oh, did he really?
Stuff. Yeah.
That's weird. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's actually gone across a lot of different genres, and if you actually look up his credits, like he has worked on some albums that were very, very successful. Really? Yeah, he's made a really good. That guy's probably made as much money as he made, and Goldfinger had some big albums in the 90s.
Right.
But he's probably made as much money or more.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially from these two.
With these Blink albums, I mean, for sure.
He's See, the thing that bothers me is he's co-credited on these for a lot of the songs. So I wonder how deep his influences is in each of the songs.
Yeah, I mean,
like the fourth, basically fourth member of Blink.
Yeah.
Do you Have you listened to the new album?
I've listened to both of them.
Okay.
I will say I think that first off, both of them are okay records. Like, it's not something like if I'm gonna listen to Blink, I'm gonna listen to actual Blink.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't think that they're bad for what they are. Here's my problem with the first one, is it feels like they were trying to make what a Blink record is supposed to be. Like, every song has the na-na-nas, every song is, like, upbeat and poppy. The thing that I think I prefer about this second album is it sounds like we're three guys who have been playing music together for a little bit, and now we kind of know what we're doing. I don't know if that makes the songs better or worse, but it feels more like what a band is, and not what a cutout of, this is what a Blink song is, you know?
I think I like California more only because the standout songs on California, to me, are like significantly better than any of the standout songs on 9, which is the new album.
Right.
And I also think 9, they needed to rope some of the stuff in. Like, some of the songs Travis is playing on.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't,
He takes away from the song. Like, the beats are amazing, but then you try to put a guitar and bass over it, and it's so jarring. Like, it doesn't even sound like it sounds wrong to your ears. Is that right? Like, it doesn't sound correct.
It was the same problem with Neighborhoods, where like obviously Tom is playing like this space, like Ghost on the Dance Floor and like Natives come to mind, where the guitar and the drums like do not match at all.
I think he's playing like a weird time signature on the drums on Natives. I really like Neighborhoods, and is like, I thought that was a direction that they always like, because I'm a huge self-titled fan. It's probably now tied for my favorite Blink album, actually.
What's the other one?
Dude Ranch and self-titled.
Okay, because Dude Ranch is my favorite one.
I really like the really early years, and I guess now not the middle, but the kind of later middle years. I'll call them the frat boy years, where that was like the American Pie years. I like those, but I think the singles now to me are just so annoying. Like, I'm sorry, if I never hear All Small Things again, I would be blessed. Like, it's a great song when you're in the right age.
Right, but now, I mean, like you said, you're 31, and I mean, like, it
just doesn't, even What's My Age Again, I'm just like, it's funny to hear. Like, if I hear it, like, out, because now all of a sudden, all these songs are 20 years old, and they're basically classic rock to a certain generation. Like, we have these emo nights and these things.
Yeah.
And it's like going out for, prior generation and them listening to Freebird or Hotel California or something, like, but 9 has some songs that if they scaled them back and like focused on maybe a little more songwriting together, to me, I get what you're saying, and I think they are, like, now they're finding maybe the sound or a sound that they want to go to as like a band, that if they're going to continue to be a band and write new material, but they gotta rope Travis in on some of these songs, and way too many electronic drum parts. And I like that stuff on some, but it's like, when the song goes from electronic drums to real drums, electronic, back and forth, I don't know. It's just, I have some disconnect with it. I don't know.
Yeah. Because I haven't really been keeping up with it. What's Alkaline's new album like? Because I haven't listened.
Was incredible, like way better than I thought it was going to be. I like every single Alkaline Trio album. I think that this last one, Is This Thing Cursed? I think it definitely had some sort of feels for people that liked maybe their like middle era to early era stuff. I mean, like probably like From Here to the Infirmary and Good Morning and stuff had a little bit of that.
Yeah.
That I think people were missing, because I think they started to get a little bit more. They started to play with a little bit more. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Not new wave, but a little bit of new wave, but a little bit of like 80s pop stuff and some of it. But it's good. I don't know about you, but I love This Addiction, the album, and I love My Shame Is True, the ones, but some people were hit or miss in those. But I think the songwriting, I think that band has never had an actual like bad record. Like, the songwriting's been super consistent throughout. I mean, for Matt to be able to go right, Is This Thing Cursed? You should you should listen to them. It's good. Yeah. It's a very good record, especially this time of year. They brought back kind of some songs that like Sweet Vampires and just some stuff that a little more horror themed stuff, but really, really good songwriting, and it's, you hear that, and then I feel like Matt, I could be wrong, because I don't know anything, I'm just the guy, but I feel like Matt definitely is just kind of going with the flow of, like, whatever's going on in Blink. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like Mark might have a bass riff, and then Travis comes in, does just basically a drum fill or a drum solo for an entire song, and then Matt comes in and just plays a couple, like, picked out notes over it, and then maybe a couple chords in a chorus, and then, like, all right, let's edit that in the next song. Like, that's how a lot of his songs, the guitar on a lot of that songs are, like, it's not bad, but I feel like it's just not, it's missing something.
Right. And I mean, even when it was with Tom, like, I know Mark did do a lot of the writing on the guitar as well. So really, like, I mean, who knows how involved Matt really is in all of this. I mean, and how much Feldman's involved. I mean, because you can tell, at least with that first album, you can tell Feldman's, like, super involved. Because every song is like, all right, we got to have the catchy chorus, we gotta have the na-na-nas, we gotta have, like, all this, and honestly, like, some of it's, like, super dated now, because, like, there's that one, I can't remember what, like, Rabbit Hole, where at the end it's like, whoa, and it's like, it's like,
some of it's, I love that they want to do one fast song, like a really fast song on every record, but, like, I mean, can they be good at least, or, you know what I mean, or an actual, like, I don't know, because they have that song on the new album.
It's like Ransom. That one's fast.
That one's I actually really
that's
like
a good
Ransom.
Song.
But the Generational Divide, I think. Is
that other one,
But it's like just under a minute long, but Matt Skiba's vocals in the mix are turned way up. Did you notice that? You play it in a car, and the drums seriously sound like a patter, and his vocals are just like someone grabbing you and like screaming in your face, and I'm like, you guys okayed this? Especially because Mark's vocals are significantly lower in the mix.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just like, I'm like, were you guys drunk when you did this? All of you? Just, like, recorded it, did it, done, out, next one, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. When I first listened to California, like, when it came out, like, they released, like, the first single or whatever, and, like, I was with Emily, and I think it was the second, it was whatever one that Matt had, like, a significant, like, singing role in. And, like, we were listening to it, and Emily was just like, did he learn how to sing? Because, like, I was like, no, this is a different guy. And then that's how I introduced her to Alkaline Trio. Because, like, no, this guy was in a different band.
Yeah. I loved the first single off California, Bored to Death.
Bored to Death.
Yeah, I think that's a great song.
Yeah.
Like, I was really excited when I first heard that song. It does sound like them trying to make a newer era Blink song.
Yeah.
But I liked it, and the lyrics weren't that bad. Some of the other stuff, like, on the new album, dear Lord, the lyrics are bad.
Oh, yeah.
That's another, like, I mean, what's the one? Too Many Emo Days or something?
Oh, it's like On Some Emo Shit.
Or On Some Emo Shit, yeah. The other one's Too Hungover for this?
I think it's just called Hungover. Yeah, it's like, I'm Still Hungover You is, like, the chorus.
Oh, maybe it is Hungover You.
Yeah.
Either way, when I read the track list for this, I was just like, holy shit. The funniest part is the On Some Emo Shit or whatever. The song's actually not bad. It's better than some of the other songs in the album, and
it just suffers from a terrible name.
Yeah. Well, I know we're going to probably get off the subject here, but one last thing. The deluxe edition of California with all the bonus tracks,
which I have not listened to. I've heard a couple songs.
They're really, really good. Like, the bonus tracks are really, really good. I think, and I haven't read up too much on it, but they wrote an entire album before California.
Oh, really?
As this Blink-182.
Because it is like a double album. Like, it's like, because I know it's another like 12, 14 songs.
Yeah, it's like 20-some songs. Like, when you have the deluxe edition. They wrote another album, and then, as they basically said, they were learning to play as a band together.
Yeah.
And then they kind of, like, shelved it, which is strange. It's not strange to me because big bands do that, but at the same time, I know some of those songs have to be some of the bonus songs in California, and they're really good songs. Like, like the deluxe edition, you know, if they took out the weak songs on California, put in the deluxe edition songs, and then the good ones, they'd have a pretty banger, like, for what it is, a pretty banger album.
But instead, we have, like, 25 songs, and some are good and some aren't, you know?
What's that one song? The Los Angeles song is horrible to me.
Oh yeah, that's on the actual album.
Los Angeles.
Yeah.
For like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it's got like the almost like sounds like someone learning how to rap or do rap beats in the beginning of it. It's just not. It's a bad song. That song's bad.
Yeah.
But check out the deluxe edition and that
I'm gonna have
album.
to.
But 9. I don't know.
I agree that the singles aren't as strong, but I think that like overall, like front to back, I
need to listen to it. Being fair enough, I need to listen to it a little bit more. Like I have it. I have it on my phone. I need to listen to it some more. I really like that. What was it Heart No More? Not Heart No More. That's not the old.
That's Off Neighborhoods.
The one that Skiba sings almost the entire song. One song it's like where there's almost no electronic stuff, and it's towards the end. It's like track 11 or 12.
I can't remember the name of it. I think I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name of it.
That song, it bangs. That's probably the best song on the album. And then I think Ransom is right after that, so it's a good like 1-2.
Yeah.
The back half of the album is pretty strong, and then the first
it takes once you get to like Pin the Grenade and stuff, that's where it starts to like pick up, I feel.
I like the first song, the First Time is what it's called or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
Then the album, the singles, and a couple things after that. There's like 4 or 5 songs where I'm just like, I don't know, man. I'm like,
I don't know.
Trying to like it, but the lyrics are so bad. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. Cool. So we kind of got into like our music background a little bit, but how did you sort of get into the horror stuff?
I'm gonna take a sip of water because we're on the thing. So here we go. It's not. I don't have any Stella with me, and Matt Damon's not returning my phone calls anymore. Okay. Horror was one of those things. I just kind of discovered it as a kid. Like I just stumbled onto stuff. Like my parents worked a ton growing up. Like longer hours than most parents, or like my mom worked second shift, so like I kind of spent a lot of time just doing my own thing, and my sister too, and I remember going to like what would have been Dairy Mart at the time and seeing like comics and stuff and the art as like a young kid. And like one of the few things my parents would do if like went to the store with them, they'd let me get like one thing to read or one thing to like something just like with my mind, you know what I mean? They wouldn't buy me like dumb shit, but if I wanted to read a comic or a magazine or something, so I started at a young age getting stuff that like I thought looked cool. Like in my brain just gravitated to stuff.
Right.
Like 90s comics and some of the art and like some of the horror comics or like magazines and stuff. And I started reading the stuff at like a young age. And then, of course, growing up in the early 90s, the reruns on TV were a lot of stuff from the 70s and 80s.
Right.
That they were able to get. Like,
yeah.
TNT, I thought maybe we talked about it after a podcast, me, you, and Jared, but late night TNT growing up had a lot of John Carpenter, which was really like one of my first introductions into stuff.
Right, yeah.
Like at a young, probably like, I've always been a little more of a night person, so my parents were kind of at the age of like 11 and 12, let me stay up a little bit later.
Yeah.
On the weekends and Saturday nights, like TNT, like I remember, I'll never forget the first time, like distinctively turning on TNT in the middle of The Thing. Mm-hmm. John Carpenter's The Thing. I mean, everyone's going to assume that, but I'll throw it out there just for clarification.
Yeah.
And it was in the middle of them going into the dog kennel.
Yeah.
When something's wrong.
Right.
And so it wasn't the start of the film, but it was a really good part to jump into it, actually, because you kind of got immediately
you're like, what's going on? Yeah.
You know, that's
really the first time you see anything. So,
yeah. Like, and especially on that scale, like that was most grand scale. You know, you see stuff in passing, or like maybe one creature, a little bit of tease thing, but like not a whole room of You know, but I remember seeing that at a young age, and like that scene really sticks out because it goes for about 5 minutes before they actually even get into the dog kennel. You know, the crew's kind of all like whispering, like, "What did you see? What is this?" You know, the one guy's like, get the flamethrower. They get the flamethrowers, and you're like, man, you know, as a young kid, you're like, flamethrower. You know, like even in a lot of films I had seen, hadn't really seen anyone mess around with a flamethrower, or like, at that age. And I'm like, this has got to go off. They open, the dogs run out, and then you see like glimpses of just wild stuff, and you're like, oh my God, what's going on? And then they do the full reveal, and if you're like, say I was like 11, your mind is going to be blown, especially at the time when like, CG wasn't a huge thing yet. Video games were still like just getting out of the 16-bit era. I mean, there wasn't a lot of like, obviously the internet really wasn't a thing. So like there wasn't a lot of like media stuff that would show stuff on that scale, if that makes sense. So like you weren't flooded with so much stuff.
Right.
So you see things at that age and like something that's just wild, like beyond your wildest dreams. And you're just like, wow, like, you're like, I was like hooked. I was like, I sat there the rest of the night and finished the film, went to bed. I remember waking up the next day as a kid and thinking about it because I'd never, ever seen anything like that. Like Star Wars, like I would say Star Wars Episode 4, which used to be just called Star Wars, but now it's A New Hope, whatever. That was I saw that at a really young age. Like one of my first good friends, his dad was a huge Star Wars fan. So he put the VHS on and showed us. And the Mos Eisley Cantina scene, like that was another thing I think that really got me, because there were so many different creatures, and there was a lot of like horror-esque type.
Yeah, there's like a Wolfman guy in there. Yeah,
people with fangs and like big heads, but mangled faces and like anything that the mind can imagine. And I think I was already like, that was the most intriguing part of that, even beyond the lightsabers. And I still remember like, I was really into the creature stuff. And, so that was kind of an introduction into that. And I'll elaborate on this a little bit more. Going to music and games that used to be like
in the mall,
in the Saybrook. No, when it was in the Saybrook Plaza.
Oh yeah.
In the middle,
where it's like
the corner. It's actually the corner of the thing.
Yeah, where the hair cutting place is.
Yeah. Music and games. I used to go there as a kid when I would do like maybe stuff for my parents and have a little bit of extra money, and they used to have. They call it the rare movie section. It really wasn't that. I mean, there were cool things behind it, but I remember looking behind the counter, and I remember the first time I think I ever made, no, second time, anyways, but that I ever made $20, and I went behind the counter. I think I was like 12 at this point, and they had Night of the Living Dead, and then next to it they had American Werewolf in London.
Right.
And both had incredible covers. I still have this DVD copy of Night of the Living Dead. It's actually, it's the black and white version, but it's like the original DVD where the case is actually like, the whole case is solid plastic. You can't open the case at all. It has a black like clip on the bottom. You unclip it and then pull and slide the clip out from under it, and the disc comes out almost like it's a DVD tray, like a coming out thing. And the cover art is like all these different crazy colors. Like I've never seen this version of it again.
Jeez.
And music, I still have it.
I've never even seen a DVD like that before.
Yeah, I'll have to show it to you sometime. But I remember seeing that cover, and it's like, again, as a kid, I was just like, whoa, and like I'd seen a couple like older people have Night of the Living Dead shirts. Like I remember that. I think that's also why I was like, oh, and they had like zombies on it. And it just looked cool. I was like, whatever that is, that's pretty cool,
Yeah.
And then I already liked werewolves. Like I started seeing some stuff on that, and I was like, I'd heard about American Werewolf in London from reading. I mean, I was just young. I don't know. I was gravitated towards. So I bought both of them, and I watched both of them the same day. And then that was just kind of.
Yeah.
I was done. I mean, I was in.
Yeah.
I mean, that was. But those were like a few other key moments, but definitely seeing those three, and those are still three of my favorite films of all time. Like.
Yeah.
Basically top 10, honestly, all three of them. Like, so I kind of I was sucked in,
Was when you watched the thing, was that sort of like the post Monster Vision era, or was Joe Bob on it, or or do you not know?
So, I don't remember. I think this was probably post that, because I would have been.
Because this would have been like 2000-ish.
No, I saw it before that. I was probably. It was probably close. It was probably like between 98 and 2000.
Gotcha.
I would say.
So Monster Vision might have still been on.
Might have been. Obviously, it's hard to remember. That
Yeah.
was a long time ago.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. But still, TNT had really good stuff on late night as a kid. I mean, they really did kind of... That channel definitely at night was more for, like, I would say, working class male adults. I mean, it was John Carpenter films. So I saw a lot of John Carpenter films, 80s action stuff, anything like that, you know. I mean, same with AMC. I remember when we finally got AMC and cable, and then I saw Halloween 2 for the first time, which I actually saw Halloween 2 before I saw Halloween 1. And I was obsessed with Halloween 2 for a while.
Oh, yeah.
For years. I was, like, really, really obsessed with that film.
I still think it's the second best one out of all, like, even including the new one.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think Halloween 2, I put a list that I wanted to put on Letterboxd, but I didn't. You know, things you're just bored and you write down.
Right,
It's like best horror sequels ever, and I made, like, a top 10, and... I mean, Halloween 2, can you really not say it's not a perfect horror sequel? It takes everything, for the most part. You know, especially think about this. Horror sequels a lot of times are made a year to 2 years after.
That was made way later.
3 to 3.5 years after the original Halloween.
Yeah.
And the original Halloween stopped shooting a year before that. So this was almost like 4 to 5 years later, Halloween 2 comes out.
Right.
And looks, feels, the story's like, to me, it's a perfect, because it was smart. It could see the same night.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
it happens right then.
Super smart. Like, a lot of horror films, at the time had not really done that yet. As dumb as that sounds.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you want a sequel? It's not going to take place a year later, a month later. No, it's...
Right then.
Then, like, 5 minutes later, you're right back into it, you know?
Yeah. You said, obviously, you were interested in the creatures. And I, like, the thing... Like, out of all the films that could have introduced you to horror, like, effects and stuff... That was probably the best one you could have seen.
No, I agree. Still, I mean, Rob Bottin doing all that coke and meth in the Arctic, making these monsters, staying up. The effects artists in that stayed up for days on end. All he did was do drugs and just work for days.
Oh, yeah, I'd imagine. Yeah.
I mean, and that's also why I think they look so incredible, because the dude was already... insanely talented and like, you know, a visionary at the time. I mean, at a very, very young age. He was Rick Baker's, you know, apprentice before that. So insane amounts of talent, and then sleep deprivation and drugs. And you're in an isolated environment. A super isolated environment. So, I mean, I can't even imagine the stuff that he probably even thought of. He didn't even have time to make.
Right. Because I know this is a popular opinion on the internet, and I don't necessarily think I agree. People say that the effects in that sort of make it, like, I don't want to say too good, but the effects sort of overshadow everything else. Do you sort of feel that way, or?
I don't think so, but it is a John Carpenter film. It's got an incredible ensemble cast, which I think that something that modern horror and even sci-fi really, in the modern era, really lacks is like a really good... Why I'm invested in that too is because the whole group of guys and the stuff that they're going through, they all fit certain, like, necessary roles for me. Like, a comic role, a serious role, an asshole role, you know... the scientist role, you know,
yeah, Wilford Brimley's in there,
yeah. The average guy role, the scared, like the chicken shit guy, like as soon as stuff hits the fan, like, you know, he's losing it, and like, you know, then you have the main heroic character who, you know, a little bit of an anti-hero, you know, doesn't necessarily want to be in this role, but realizes he wants to survive or wants to figure it out, you know, just it has all the like ingredients and elements to just like really good characters. The direction is obviously peak John Carpenter for the most part. I mean, he's literally on top of his game in everything. I think, I don't know, maybe new generations feel that way, that the effects overshadow it, but I really think it, you know, there's so many other strong elements.
Right.
That whole film to me is just strong. Like, basically, for me, like, basically perfect for me.
Yeah.
I'm sure if, you know, I'm not a film student. Like, you know, maybe there's some bad shots, bad editing, bad whatever. I have a little bit of an eye for that, just watching stuff and reading stuff. But, I mean, he has some incredible long shots. I think the edits are good. He shows you what he needs to show you. He also pulls back when he doesn't. Like, he just gives you little glimpses of things to keep you interested.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, I'll say this, doesn't blow his load too early.
Yeah.
It keeps you invested. And the character, I mean, you know, you're trying to figure out who's a thing and who's not.
Yeah.
Which is one of the best elements of the film, too, I think, personally. You know?
Yeah, so it's like part mystery, almost.
It is. It's not a whodunit, but kind of. Right. I mean, you're like...
You're wondering because you don't know when it's going to strike and who it is, and they're all strapped to the
that
thing.
Scene's incredible when they're just like, we're going to see who's infected right now, and you're waiting. That's very suspenseful because you're waiting because I saw it at a young age, so I wasn't used to all the exact stereotypes and tropes of the last guy's the one who's going to get it, or that you don't know if it's going to be the first guy that's going to be the thing, or stuff that. You start to see patterns in storytelling and stuff like that. So you see at a young age, you're just like, which one is one of them going to be it? What if none of them's it? Or I mean, it's just good, really good scene.
Right. Was that one of the? I mean, obviously it probably is. Is that one of the key things that made you want to do effects and makeup and stuff?
Yes, but I didn't know that until much later. I wish I would have started doing special effects at a younger age. It's one of those things where I was just getting through life and through school and things, and I wish I would have dedicated more time into doing something like that or hobbies. But coming in from Ashtabula, really, if you didn't like sports or you didn't whatever, I don't know. There really wasn't a lot of outlet for stuff like that, and you really didn't know anyone that did stuff like that. Like, there wasn't...
Yeah.
Even for me, I didn't know, any teachers or any mentors or anything that was like, hey, you think all these makeup films and stuff, all this stuff's cool? Kind of, I don't want to say guide you, but, you know how it is with the sports teams and coaches. They guide you, they might mentor you or get you into some other stuff like that, or groups, or, nowadays, you just go on Facebook and it's like, this event does this, or this. You can find all these little niche, different groups and events and things that can further your interests. As a kid in Ashtabula, first of all, I didn't know almost anyone that was into horror movies or that was outright into it.
Yeah,
I didn't know anyone that did any kind of makeup effects. There were no haunted houses. I mean, there were all these things I just kind of it didn't.
Right.
I didn't. I was just focused on being a kid. I didn't have the right, tools, the right mindset. My parents weren't into any of this stuff at all. So I mean, it was I wish that I would have started messing around at a young age, because if you can hone some of those skills at a young age, just with anything, you learn better, or you develop more of a natural talent where, I started doing this stuff in my early 20s, and it was a lot harder to learn certain things or do things or whatever. But I mean, one day I was just reading through magazines, Fangoria and every other thing, when I was living in Maryland, and I was just sitting there, and I was just thinking and looking at some of these different makeup schools. There were different ads, not just the one that I went to. And I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm watching something that had great effects on the screen, and I was thinking, maybe, I thought about it in the past a couple times, but I didn't really research it. And it just kept reoccurring, certain things reoccurring things keep showing up, and I'm like, man, maybe I should have messed around with makeup or sculpting or doing things like that, or things with my hands. And then finally I just said one day, I was like, I'm just going to try this. I hadn't gone to college yet, and I was waiting because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was working. I was like, well, I've always been able to find work. I've always been very motivated when I put my mind to something. I was like, why don't I just give this a shot? You know, it seemed to be I looked everything you said. All of my favorite films, super special effects heavy. Yeah. All practical. I mean, Aliens, The Thing, American Werewolf in London, all of George A. Romero's, Dead series. A lot of his other, I really love, he's one of my favorite filmmakers. Him, all John Carpenter's stuff. I mean, it's all effects. And I'm just I was always drawn to that, and I'm it started to click. It just clicked it. For me, a little bit too late of an age. I wish it would have, I probably would have been able to do more or you know.
Yeah. I mean, I feel the same. I mean, similar, like, with my directing and stuff. I mean, like, when I was a kid, I'd always, like, grab all the neighborhood kids and, like, make movies and stuff. But then when you, like, get into high school, like, you tell people, like, oh, yeah, I make movies or whatever. They're like, what the hell are you talking about? And stuff like that. Like, there's no real, like, outlet for it. And, I mean, even when I went into college, it just so happened. And, like, I didn't even know until almost my junior year. It just so happened that they had some sort of film program that I could get into. So, yeah, like, I mean, I'm sure everyone has that thing where it's like, oh, if only I did this, like, you know what I mean? But back then, like, as you said, especially with you and me as well, like, the internet, I don't want to say it was in its infancy, but it's not what it is now, you know?
No, I mean, really until, really almost like 2010, 2011, which I was in college then, like, a lot of people smartphones weren't really a thing. There wasn't great internet on all the phones. I mean, I remember being in my last semester of special effects school, and a girl came in with her reference photos on an iPad. Mm-hmm. And that was like the first iPads.
Yeah.
And I was just like, she was just, you know, blasting through stuff and moving stuff. And like,
yeah.
I was just like, you know, I mean, obviously I'd used all sorts of computers, but to still like, just to have like a tablet or like references at like that good quality like stuff that quick. I mean, kids don't understand how hard it was to try to find stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Or like trying to print photos off of like a public computer and they didn't have a color printer or they didn't have this or like, you know, like it, or you just didn't have the internet at your fingertips all the time, you know, or you know, now I don't want to say it sounds stupid. This makes it sound old as hell.
Yeah, we sound like
very old,
bitching about the kids these days. But it's weird because like we're in like our generation is the one that sort of has like the pre-internet age and now, like you know what I mean? Like I didn't see a computer until like what I was in like second grade maybe. I didn't know what a computer was, you know. Yeah. But now, like in kindergarten and stuff, all the students have a Chromebook like assigned to them through. And they have it until they graduate, you know?
It's crazy.
So, like...
And nowadays...
It's just weird.
Nowadays, it's like, it's almost... Like, I went to the mall yesterday, and I'll go to the mall very often, but it's almost cool to be a nerd. That sounds so old. It's the lamest shit I've ever said. But you know what I mean, right? Like, you go in the mall, and there's all sorts of, like, pop culture stores or, like, little, like, nerdy outlet things like that. Like... When I was a kid, Hot Topic didn't even exist in the mall. Like, there was nothing. The only thing that you went to is you went to maybe, like, we had a video store or, like, a comic book shop. Yeah. And those were your only outlets for anything like that.
We had a Spencer's in our mall, but my parents didn't let me go in there. So
I used to work at Spencer's, actually.
Oh, did you really?
I worked at that Spencer's for a little bit in high school. But even then, like, Spencer's had, like, a couple corners of cool stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of their stuff now they're more like pop, from what I've heard, like more pop culture stuff and more stuff like that. They had the one in Asheville maybe had like 15 band tees and like a couple of, like horror action figures in the corner.
Yeah.
And then the other was it was selling dildos to old ladies and businesswomen. I mean, honestly, or shot glasses or, you know. But that was about it. That was like maybe you'd have the thing where they had like the McFarlane horror figures or like the Legends of Horror Cinema action, you know what I'm talking about? Where they have the Nightmare and, you know, all that stuff. Like, but you know, I mean, it's great to stare at an action figure and you can watch the reruns of the stuff on TV. But like, there wasn't really a way to get like deeper into stuff, you know?
Right. So what made you decide on because you went to the Savini school, right? What made you, how involved was he? In this, because I'm assuming that was sort of like a draw to going there, right?
It was a draw. The location was a draw because, you know, we're fortunate where we live. I mean, Cleveland's a little over 2 hours from Pittsburgh. Ashtabula, just because it's farther north, but you know,
it's about the same time.
2 hours to Pittsburgh. So the school is about 45 minutes south of Pittsburgh. It's in the Mon Valley. It's in a the Rust Belt doesn't even begin to describe it area. Very depressed area, depreciated area. I mean, I lived in it's on the Monongahela River, which goes up to Pittsburgh. So it's like almost like the asshole of everything coming down from Pittsburgh. But anyways, I lived in there's just every city is different on each side of the river. Like you look across that's a different city, so on and so forth. But I lived in one on each side of the river. I lived in the one where the school was for a little bit, and the road next to me was all white boxes. All the homes were abandoned, and they just put up giant whiteboards. So you just walked, and you just saw white box after white box. It looked like something in it just looked like in some of those weird, almost like art school horror films that have weird imagery. You saw that does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Or flashes of stuff you just didn't feel like you were living not in America but you know what I mean. It was weird, very strange. Yeah. It's post-apocalyptic for sure, but it was almost very art chic post-apocalyptic. Yeah, it was very, very strange. I don't even know how to describe it properly, but so Savini went down there and basically revamped the town, the one town that it's in, because there was already a school there, the Douglas Education Center. It's part of a bigger school. And the school owns different buildings throughout the city that actually make up the campus overall. Okay, yeah. They have a media makeup school and haircutting school. My ex at the time was in that. They had numerous music video hairstylists and stuff actually work there as teachers and stuff. And has a small business, has a small some sort of healthcare program. Typical. Yeah, college stuff. But it has a great film school. The film school there is actually incredible. I tried to get a couple people to go down there to go to that because green screen rooms, you used to have 24-hour access to this, if you're in a film program.
Yeah, so that's how my school was.
Okay, yeah. But, I mean, great. And the guy that actually ran that used to be, a huge commercial and, music video director, too. I forget his name, but credits on top of credit. He's a very, well-respected, seasoned working filmmaker. They had a beautiful private theater, which thankfully one of my makeup teachers and I got to do Monday night film screenings. I got to as I got to know him better, I got to plan out stuff. Yeah. So I got to see I already go to film stuff, but I saw everything in theaters. Everything from The Shining to Day of the Dead to, every kind of crazy, even drama films, anything that was makeup heavy. I mean, we saw everything, but location was great. Obviously, not too far from home, easy to get back and forth. Yeah. I mean, the housing down there they were giving it away. Yeah. I had a duplex for $375 a month. Jesus. And it was actually decent. You know what I mean? It was a decent place. I mean, I lived on the side of a mountain, so I had to park like this. It was kind of not great in the winter, but for the price, whatever. You gotta do what you gotta do, yeah. It was cool. I know I'm the long answer, but I'm trying to give people kind of a feeling of where this post-apocalyptic asshole of Pittsburgh
Why did he choose there?
I think because it already had existing. See, he needed somewhere that I think had credentials because it was already an existing school. Gotcha. Kind of saved him. Right. Trying to figure out how to be an official college because I actually have a degree. It's not just a trade school. I actually have a college degree, which I think is what he was looking for. Right. So. The building's incredible. I mean, the school was a three, it's technically fourth floor, but basically 3 working floors school. I mean, lots of workshops, lots of space, any kind of materials. Obviously in the tuition, it wasn't cheap, so you got everything. But Savini, I was there for a couple years. I saw him 3 times. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, he does an introduction for every class. He's there for most of the graduations, unless his schedules. You're right. Whatever. He comes in the school once in a while and just walks around, critiques whatever people are working on. The guy who's actually the head of the school was actually one of his best friends, and especially and a big makeup artist too, who's worked on every kind of TV show in the 90s, when it was all effects heavy, Babylon 5, X-Files, Buffy, the guy's done, any TV show that had makeup in the 90s. Jerry Gergley's his name, by the way. You can look him up. He's worked on a lot of stuff. He actually worked on, did we talk about this once? Flesh Eater. Did you see Flesh Eater with Bill Heinzman, the zombie movie he made, wrote and directed?
I've not seen it. No, I'm familiar. I'm aware of it, but I have not.
It's super entertaining, honestly. Yeah. Jared, I think, has it on DVD. I thought maybe you'd watched it with him because I know he watched it with someone else besides me. But Jerry Gergley did as a favor to Bill Heinzman because they're friends.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he was paid, but
Yeah.
he did all the effects for this. He would tell stories about, he's on the DVD special features, like actually interviewed and stuff, because the guy wanted effects out the ass. I mean, he was like he wanted full bodies in all these scenes.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, and like, it was like him and a couple other people, I think, that just cranking out stuff. But
yeah,
it's a very Pittsburgh-esque film. But anyways, Jerry Gurley, great. He was a great teacher. He was my sculpting teacher. He was a great sculptor. But he would, that guy was there every day, so he was more really honestly the core of the school.
Yeah.
It was like Savini, just like, oh, here's my best friend.
Well, he has
great.
the name value.
Yeah, he brings in that, and then, but all the teachers there were extremely successful working special effects artists. I mean, my molding teacher, Sean Ronzio, who I'm still talk to some. Sean, you're not going to hear this, but I love you. You're great. Our Star Wars talks were incredible. He's obsessed with Fallout. He actually has a Fallout fan films.
Oh, really?
Like, has all sorts of props, full suits. He actually owns he owns a small special effects studio east of Pittsburgh, like kind of southeast of Monroeville, like 20 minutes away.
Oh, okay.
In like this beautiful mountain town. I went and saw it a couple years ago. He bought this old like 3-story brick building. Mm-hmm. Place is like a special effects masterpiece.
Oh, yeah.
Giant monsters, props, like everything. He worked on, Spider-Man 2 was his biggest thing that he did.
Really?
And Cabin Fever.
Okay.
And stuff like that. So he went out to Hollywood like right as like, the kind of like splatter pack that came up in the early 2000s, which was like Roth, Zombie, some of those guys. I always say his name wrong, but I love him. Alexander Aja. Is it Aja or is it Aja?
I don't know how you pronounce it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not French. Sorry. High Tension's one of my favorite films of all time. To base, all those guys were coming up and like rebringing effects in. So he was lucky that he got to like work on that. He worked on House of 1,000 Corpses. Like he just like got there right at the right time and like just went and did that. And they're all from the Pittsburgh. All these guys are from Pittsburgh area. Oh yeah. So it's cool that they like went and made names for themselves too, and then came back. My makeup teacher was from California. He was an old California punk. Chris Patrick. Still, I talk to him regularly too. Amazing guy. Great guy because he also was there for 80s punk. So like, him and I got along really well. But he was in the makeup arts union. So when Pittsburgh had all those tax credits. He was working on everything. Everything, yeah. Like, he worked on Super 8 when it was in West Virginia. He, like, laid beards all day. Beards and facial hair and, like... But he worked on, I don't know. What else was there? What was the one that... What's-her-face... Emma from Harry Potter worked on? She was in... I want to say The Fault... It's not The Fault in Your Stars. That was the other one. Just like, the one with that Ezra guy, too. You know what I'm talking about?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It was based after that young adult novel. I actually drove right next to them when they were filming it. Like, they were filming a scene when they were going through Pittsburgh, and I was coming back from a show, and there was, like, a detour, and I saw them, like, they had the truck, like, on the thing, and they were, like, I was like, oh, cool, I can't remember what the fuck that did that.
The girl from Harry Potter and Ezra? Yeah. I don't know.
I'm having a... What's that guy's name? He was the Flash. He was the Flash in Justice League. Ezra...
I don't know.
I can't think. Anyways.
I don't watch comic book movies.
Okay, sorry, Internet. My brain's rotten. I've seen way too many things. I can't remember all of it. But anyways, all the teachers acclaimed great. Awesome human beings. School was great. I was going through a lot at the time with relationships and other things in my life, and the first year I was there, I didn't work because I took out enough loans. Second year I worked. Working and going to that school is nearly impossible because of how detailed the projects are. I mean, my classes were like 5 to 7 hours long. Mm-hmm. So like, if you have to work after, do anything, and then go to work, you're on like 10 to 14-hour days. Right. And it just was too. I wish I would have found a way to not have to work just because the school was so intensive. Right. Like, I did okay. I got good grades, but I know I could have utilized. That's a regret that not utilizing the school like how I would have liked to.
Right. Did you have to like take like tests and stuff, or like was it all like project based, or like did you have to like read and do stuff, or?
It was a little of both. For it to be an actual accredited school, you had to have at least one general education course a semester.
Mm-hmm.
So they were all geared towards, like something with special effects, like anatomy or something.
Oh, gotcha.
Because,
yeah, there you
like
go.
Sculpting,
Yeah, I
stuff
mean
like
that fits.
And
yeah.
like anthropology or my final semester we had a business course, but it was geared towards how to represent yourself in like the market, like as like an artist. You know what I mean?
So it's actually like useful. It's not
very
like,
honestly, the general education courses were phenomenal. Like, I mean, it was a good, well put together program for the time you're there. It prepares you for going out there and doing it, but I can't say you don't need more time. I mean, I left when I graduated. I felt like I was just getting a good grasp on things, barely. Like
Well, that's how I felt when I graduated too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you're not there long enough. You know,
you really do need. Like, I was like, man, if I got an extra year or anything, you know, I mean, you need more time, and it is like, because most people are from all over the country. The week after you graduate, everyone who's living in the housing there has to leave.
Right.
So it's like, I mean, obviously it's in most places, but like, you know, a lot of these people you might never see again just because they're not from. I mean, I guess that's with other college too, but like a lot of these people, you know, are like from everywhere, like even other countries and stuff like that. And the school's small, so you kind of know everyone a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was like, I mean, my class was like a big class, and there were 60 people in it.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, the average class had like 20 to 35.
Yeah.
And then the big ones would be like that. So I mean, it was kind of like you kind of had like, even if you didn't like each other. Yeah. Because there was a lot of that. That school was more like high school than high school, let me tell you.
Was there a lot of like pretentious people there? Yeah.
Yeah, especially the one, you know, as you go on and you see these people develop skills, and the ones are obviously more naturally talented.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of them were assholes to people that weren't. It sucked. Like, there were a lot of times where I was just like, God, these people fucking suck, dude. Like, I don't want to be here. But
yeah.
That is what it is.
It is what it is. So you kind of, you mentioned this, so like you kind of learn a little bit of everything. Like you learn the makeup, you learn the sculpting, because I think I saw at the time you were posting like a Belial you were working on or something.
I have. That's my my unfinished masterpiece. It's very rough. I hate the mouth on it. I actually have it sitting in my basement about 5 minutes from where we are sitting right now.
Yeah.
On a table that's like as big as this. And I actually bought a couple years ago another 40 pounds of clay to finish it. And I have not yet finished it. Part of it just because you know how life is.
Yeah.
But I have everything to finish it. I just haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
Which I'll admit that on the air. Maybe this will give me a reason to. I've been wanting to do
finish it, yeah.
But it's just getting it to where it was, getting like the because underneath I had to build like what they'd say like an armature. So if it was solid clay, it would be 500 pounds. It's already on a countertop like this, mounted.
Right.
Just picking that thing up is like almost 100 pounds right now.
Yeah.
So it's like just building that, you know, under body, you know, skeleton, whatever, was time consuming enough. Because I tried to kind of block the shapes out to get there. And then layering all that damn clay. And then starting to put just basic facial forms and stuff. But I do want to mold that and do that one day. That's going to be... I'm going to do that. It just might take another few years.
Yeah. So do you prefer doing the makeup better then? Or what is your favorite thing about doing it, and what are you the best at doing, I guess?
You know, another reason I didn't go out to California is probably because I'd be a shop guy. I'm not good enough at makeup, just admitting that, to be like an on-set makeup artist, you know? I can do very good haunted house makeup all day. I mean, I worked at a haunted house for a few seasons, and I actually worked behind the scenes and built props, repaired a lot of props, repaired a lot of sets that were messed up. I can do that stuff all day, you know, like, but film quality makeup, I mean, you have to have probably a little bit better of an eye than I have, or a more trained eye, which would come in time, but once you get out of school, I mean, I can't be doing makeup 7 days a week.
Right.
I don't have the time or the money. I mean, the amount of money that I've even sunk in, like some of those projects, Belial, stuff like that. I mean, hundreds of dollars in clay. I had a slime monster that I have a silicone mold for in my garage right now that I sculpted a few years ago out of it was a quicker clay. It was a clay that had to be wet constantly.
Yeah.
So I had to sculpt it. It was basically smooth forms with dripping slime. It's the thing's about like this big. And the clay, the silicone, the stone jacket, because silicone's rubber, it's soft, so you need something when you go to mold it, like a hard backing. I mean, that was $500-600 minimum right there. I mean, so every project you do, you're out of school, all of a sudden you can't spend $100 on makeup here, $300 on this here,
And at the school, it's all there.
It's all there, or you have it included, or you have enough supplies, but if you're not, it's an expensive hobby if you're not doing it daily. I mean, it's not, it's just, I was a very good mold maker, which I make dentures now, by the way. That's what I do, which is a realistic job that when I was in school, they said that, that we could go after because I work with stone and plasters. I carve teeth, I carve this, I carve stuff out of wax, which is similar to clay. I mean, all the fundamentals just into a different aspect.
Right.
And I actually love doing that. That's why I've been doing it now for almost 6 years. But very good mold making. Always, what they say, pulls or things like when I was making masks or doing fiberglass, all my stuff came out immaculate. I like, it's not as creative as some parts of it, but it's very, I don't want to say it's relaxing, but it's you know what I mean?
It's more laid back.
Yeah, I like doing that. I do like sculpting Halloween masks primarily. I really like sculpting Halloween masks.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I did that a lot in school. I like doing, quick, gory makeups, basic stuff like that. I mean, that's just, but probably the sculpting and the mold making aspect. I really actually liked life casting. Taking alginate, and stuff like that, and doing stuff like that. But, the average life caster, they have things like that. I went out to California and I knew a girl that was life casting at one of the, best special effects places in California.
Uh-huh.
I was already making more money than her doing dental stuff. I mean, significantly more.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these positions out in California, they're still only making a few dollars above minimum wage out there.
Yeah, and then plus you got to live in California.
I mean, yeah.
Right.
I mean, it takes you a really long. You have to have a lot of luck, a lot of skill, or you have to grind for a lot of years. Yeah. Being dirt broke. Right. In California, praying your car doesn't break down so you can get to set. Because if you miss a day, if you miss a couple days,
you're gone.
You're toasted. So
on to the next one.
Yeah,
because there's a million other people trying to do what you're doing. Yeah.
It's very.
That's why I never even tried to go out there for anything.
Yeah. I hung out at some special effects houses and stuff when I was out there, and it was just like college. Oh yeah. Shit everywhere. Booze everywhere. Yeah. A little bit of other stuff everywhere. It just wasn't. I was like, no wonder why. The guys, a lot of my teachers went out there till they're about 40, and then they're like, okay, now I have to figure something else out or get hired at the school or whatever, because there isn't really, for 75% of the people in this industry, the most talented ones too, there's no end game. Yeah. You're just going until the wheels fall off. Right. And then what do you do? I don't know. It's great. I've had a lot of good experience. I've worked on set a dozen times.
I was going to ask, what's some of the stuff that you've been a part of?
The first thing I did is we did a collaboration with the school that we did a sci-fi film between the film school and then the makeup school. What was it called off the top of my head now? I keep wanting to say it was Legend, but it wasn't. But it was, I'm not going to, it's on the internet. I forget what it's called. I have to go. That sounds horrible, but honestly, the sets and stuff look great, but it wasn't very good. Yeah. So I kind of just pretend. Yeah. Right. But I built props on that for a month. This was right after graduation, right before. I started working on a few things, paid gigs and other things while I was in my last semester. I was getting some work already. the school did help with that. You know, they let some of the
more experienced. And,
yeah. On that, I remember there was a guy in a throne in the opening scene. It was like a spaceship.
Oh, really?
And they didn't have any set hands that day for like the film school. So me and another guy were opening, like, they have scenes with giant opening doors and stuff.
Yeah.
They were on rigs. So we were opening doors. We had to get on the ground and slowly spin this throne around.
Gotcha.
Probably like 15 times, literally laying it like slowly. I remember, like, I was just like, please let this be it, please.
So you were kind of just like a grip, like you weren't really doing any like effects or anything.
Well,
sort of.
I built the prop. Like
you built it, but then you were using.
Props,
Gotcha.
and then when I was on set for that, I did that. So yeah, I built like most of it was set in the inside of a spaceship. So like I painted a bunch of the stuff. I did a bunch of the fiberglass stuff. I put parts together and stuff. So I actually did do a lot of work. Yeah. There was like I think 15 of us that did most of that. I did one that actually came out last year, finally, years later.
That's how it goes.
Had an LA premiere at a film festival, and it actually won an award. One of the guys who was the makeup lead on it actually sent me the certificate, like a photo of the certificate last year out of the blue, and I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
It's called The Fifth Dimension. The director, I forget his name, he was typical, some actor that had acted in a few things, just wanted to try his hand, you know, and it was like right in the slums of Pittsburgh. In an abandoned train station.
All right.
And it was supposed to be about like, time travel and like time loops and things like that. And then like there were random creatures that were brought back through, and I was on set for that for about a week. I did. They had like corpses and stuff, or like body bagged corpses and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I did a few of those, and then like assisted with like a couple other things. Yeah. I did an stretch and stipple, which is like an old age makeup. They used it in The Exorcist, is probably one of the most famous famous films that really pioneered that. Dick Smith, legendary makeup artist. I did one of those. I actually did all the stretch and stipple, which is like cotton and latex and stuff like that. Yeah. Builds for old age makeup. That's what it is for anyone out there. And then I had another woman came in and did the makeup. We kind of tag teamed it. That was great. I guess that's out there for view somewhere. Somewhere, yeah. I don't. You know how it is. It's floating. Like, I've looked up trailers. I've seen some. Some are bad. You know, it's out there somewhere. Yeah. I don't know if it's on demand anywhere or anything like that.
Because like I've worked on stuff too, where like you do it and then you don't hear anything for a while, and then you don't know if it gets released or not, and then if it does, you're like, oh well, how do I see it? And it's like, oh, it's on this IndieWire streaming service thing, and it's like, what is? I don't even know what that is.
I worked on a couple other things. I worked on this guy who was a filmmaker, and we came out to PA to do accounting for an oil company for a year. Okay. He was burned out on LA. And I met him. We did he wanted to do like a PSA web series, like funny things. One was like knife violence or something. Right. So we went out into the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, these campgrounds. We did this one day. Some hillbilly came out of the woods, brought the actors moonshine. Some of the actors drank moonshine on set, which only in Pennsylvania. Well, probably not, but you know what I mean. We had prop knives, but one of the guys used a real knife in a scene, and it wasn't dulled. Yeah. We're trying to do makeup. I have a photo, but where the director was actually going to act in it, and we did a cut off knife handle, sticking out of the neck, and that came out pretty cool, but he wasn't patient enough, as it is with any indie film. The makeup stuff, they're always like, "Oh, can you do it in like 5 minutes?" Right. He didn't let the adhesive set all the way, so we only got about 3 or 4 takes of that. He had the guy in the blood rig. We had blood rig where someone's be shot in white shirt, blood squirts, or part of it was used to be blood pouring and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. He let him sit out in the 30-degree weather, and I told him, I go, the blood tubing's thin, so part of the blood froze. Yeah. Oh, we'll CG that later. Nice try. Yeah, so it was one of those things. At the end of the day, I had a blast, but it was just a nightmare. I said, hey, can you I need my money now. Yeah. And thankfully, I got paid, and I actually helped a couple guys out who got me on some other stuff, so I felt, we all got paid. That was cool. 6 months later, he actually got a hold of me, and I wasn't using this email at the time. Yeah. He ended up doing a whole post-apocalyptic web series that was successful. Oh, really? And had a whole couple seasons.
Yeah.
That I could have worked on, but I was like just like not in contact at the right time.
Yeah.
So that was kind of one of those like, God, I hate myself that didn't work out. But I went to West Virginia and did a trailer at the asylum down there. One of the the oldest ones it's in Weston, West Virginia. Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't heard of it.
Transatlantic, I think.
Oh yeah, sort of.
But
I think I've heard of that. Yeah.
That was probably my favorite shoot I was ever on because they took me down. I was there on and off for a few days. Paid dinners. We had meetings.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Very professional. It was great. I mean, the asylum, once the makeup was done, I got full range. I got to just basically explore the whole thing by myself for the most part, which was incredible. I tried to stay on set some, for touch-ups or stuff.
Yeah, you gotta wander around a little
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was, when they were shooting scenes that didn't really have any makeup, it was easy to kind of, go off. But that was incredible. That's online. 7X is what it's called. The first trailer that had thousands and thousands and thousands of views, the guy was an editor from LA, the director, and he wanted to start getting into directing. He actually wrote a book. It's based on a book that he wrote.
Gotcha.
He gave me the book, so I read that for the backstory and stuff. And the book's on Amazon too and stuff like that. He knew a lot of people. He was trying to get the film made, and then you know how it is. I mean, there's just a million scripts out there, a million.
Right.
He re-edited the trailer there's 4 different versions of the trailer out there. Each one there's more worthless scenes. He just started taking out makeup scenes, and they were scenes of them running or yelling. I was just it was bad. But by the time I saw the last edit that he did, and he edited it over 2 years, I was just this is horrible. But I have beautiful stills from that. I did great back wounds where someone stuck their hand in and went through their back, bruising, scarring, any kind of thing. I mean, that was probably my favorite gig. I did a couple other little trailers, and things, nothing really of note, I did one film a year ago. It was a feature that is actually finished. It was based on a popular web series shot in Pennsylvania with some guys I know. Grandma's Apartment was the web series. It's on YouTube. This is a feature. It's a pretty much a 50s sci-fi spoof thing.
Gotcha, yeah.
And I apparently have a copy of it somewhere that was sent to me. I should probably watch that.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited. It was an absolute blast. The crew was incredible. I mean, it was just great. I did the Crypt Drop music video a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I was part of that.
Yeah.
A few other things, but I mean, a lot of stuff's out there. A lot of it's out there in free domain, YouTube or some of these things.
Right.
But they're paid gigs, and that's just part of it. You just,
Yeah. I guess sort of as we wind down here, is there anything that you've been thinking about that you want to do? Are there any do you have any ideas for a short film or anything?
I'd like to work. Well, if you ever do something.
We should do something.
We should do something, yeah. That'd be, especially now that you live so close. I mean, we should do something. We'll put it out there right now. We should work on something. Short film or whatever,
Yeah.
Maybe next year when the weather gets a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit
because I'm always bouncing around ideas and stuff, but I never make anything. And I literally thought of one last week because our washer and dryer are broken, and so I was at the laundromat doing laundry, and I was thinking, has there ever been a horror movie that has taken place in a laundromat before? And then I was thinking you would call it Laundra Slash or something really stupid, a fake.
I'm down for that.
Yeah. A fake trick. I was picturing and if anyone steals this idea, I mean we know where it's from. So
it's gonna be copyrighted by the time this comes out.
So I was picturing a severed head just going around in a washing machine, someone maybe gets a hot iron to the face.
That'd be great.
Just various shit like that.
My Bloody Valentine, the original, they do have a body in a washing machine.
A full body.
Yeah.
Not a decapitated head though.
Not a decapitated head, which would make a lot of noise and be very amazing.
Yeah.
But I'd like to work on that'd be
just
cool.
Anything,
something like that. My buddy Dylan Nemi, who he went to film school. He's actually been working on a ton of stuff in the South. Like he's been, since he's graduated, like mostly with like local film companies, but he's been constantly working, and I'm really proud of him. His stuff's coming out really good. He sent me some trailers. I'd like to maybe eventually work with him, but you know, unfortunately, my career is, I'm very, very slammed. Also because I'm working with millimeters, small details, I'm pretty exhausted a lot of the time. Just being honest. I mean, I have a crazy workload constantly, but I still try to work on a couple film projects a year. So I'd like, you know, I'd like to work on some stuff in this next year. This year is probably my least productive.
Yeah.
as you know, an effects artist or you know whatever, but you're gonna have those. I mean, I know people that work in the industry that they consider it their job, and I had a friend the other year. She went in 1 year. She had 3 or 4 months on and off where she had no work.
Right.
And she's in LA, and she's like known, like she has a name. Her name is actually out there. Like she's worked on a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
But like this, you know,
that's how it goes. Yeah.
Especially if you know if you have another career. I mean, you kind of it's hard. You're not always gonna do work. You know.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to come up with an idea for something. We're gonna have to.
We have the winner. You know, we have the winner to you know. Maybe bounce some ideas off. You know, or see what's possible.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. Well, where can people find you online? Miles Sack.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, my name is Sack on. Isn't it Miles Sack? I'm on Instagram, and my Instagram is probably the only thing that I don't have a Twitter or anything like that. I have a special effects resume page, but it's missing about 5 years of work.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of the work that I've gotten over the years has just been word of mouth through I worked for someone and then I got something else, or you know, friends or friends of friends, or you know, finding people online. And like, you know, a lot of it is if you go meet these people or you know people and you just bring some, you know, some photos of various things you've done. Right. A lot of these independent things, they'll just hire you. You know what I mean? Like they're like, the guy knows something, you know, he knows more than we know, and like I mean, so I really haven't, especially because it's a very, very part-time thing for me. Really, since I've left doing the haunted houses, I haven't really updated my resume. But I post on Miles Sack. It's Miles. Miles. Is it AACK? Yeah. So there's 2 A's in there because my middle initial. But on Instagram, eventually when I start doing more stuff, or when I do stuff, very occasionally I do post on there. But if anybody that listens to this needs a special effects artist in the greater Cleveland area or Columbus, you can find me on Instagram or commenting on, you know. Yeah, I mean, reach out to me or whatever. Yeah. I'd love to do some stuff, or even, you know, day shoots. I'm down. I'm really big of like going out there, doing a short film, doing a trailer, doing whatever. I mean, I think they're a blast, you know. Well, that's about it. So thanks for coming on the show today. Thank you for having me. Thank you guys for listening to me ramble on, you know.
Well, that's it for this time, guys. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Midnight Miles. As always, make sure you like this video, share it with a friend, and if you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to my channel. I'll see you back here next week for another episode of the House of Horror podcast, and back here on YouTube tomorrow for another video from the House of Horror. That's it for this time, guys. Take care and stay spooky.